The disturbing case of Niko Jenkins. Niko Jenkins, an American serial killer, was found guilty of 4 murders in Omaha, Nebraska in August 2013. Less than a month before the murders took place, he was released from prison after serving 10.5 years of an 18-year sentence for a carjacking he did when he was 15 and for assaults he conducted while he was confined. Jenkins said that he had carried out the murders following the instructions given to him by the ancient serpent deity Apophis, and in May of 2017, he was deemed to be competent enough to face trial, found guilty of all 4 murders, and given the punishment of death for his crimes. In this video, we'll delve into the chilling story of Niko Jenkins. Niko Jenkins as a youngster. During his youth, he was subjected to a string of terrible experiences, some of which involved physical and sexual assault, abuse, and criminal acts done by members of his family. Reports from criminal behaviors indicate that when he was just 7 years old, he carried a loaded revolver that belonged to his mother to the primary school that he attended. Also, around the age of 8, his mother had him brought to the hospital due to an increasing inclination to self-harm and spells of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. As he got older, his conduct became a bigger and bigger concern for everyone around him. At the age of 11, he was expelled from school due to his involvement in a gang and for exhibiting aggressive behavior towards his teachers and classmates. Thus, while he was just 13 years old, he had already been convicted of many crimes, one of which was an attack with a knife. After being moved between homes and detention camps, all while having therapy for psychiatric assessment and treatment for mental health concerns, Niko was repeatedly reported missing by his family and friends. He was found guilty of 2 charges of armed carjacking when he was just 15 years old and received a sentence of 10 years in prison as a result. Murders. On the morning of August 11, 2013, at around 5:01 a.m., a patrol officer found 2 dead inside a white Ford pickup truck that was parked next to a municipal swimming pool at Spring Lake Park on 18th and F Street. Both Juan Urapena and Jorge C. Cajija Ruiz, the 2 victims, had been shot in the head, and their pockets had been turned inside out as a result of the attack. Therefore, this random double murder marked the beginning of the killing spree, which started less than 2 weeks after the offender was released from jail on July 30th. In addition, the corpse of Curtis Bradford was discovered on August 19th at around 7 a.m. outside of an unattached garage at 18th and Clark Street by a guy who was coming home after working a night shift at a convenience store. When the investigators arrived, they discovered that Bradford had 2 gunshot wounds in his back. Ultimately, it was discovered that Bradford and Jenkins had posed for a picture on Facebook the day before it was published. Andrea Kruger, Jenkins' 4th and final victim, was found on August 21st at around 2:15 a.m. by a deputy sheriff who had been dispatched to investigate a report of shots fired. At the intersection of 168th and 4th Street, her corpse was discovered laying in the road with several wounds to the face, neck, and shoulder caused by a 12-gauge shotgun. At around 6:30 p.m. on the same day, Kruger's gold 2012 Chevrolet Traverse vehicle was discovered deserted 19 kilometers away in an alley at 43rd and Charles Street. So the sheriff of Douglas County, Tim Dunning, held a news conference in which he stated that investigators believed the SUV had been abandoned approximately 2.5 hours after it had been stolen, and that there had been a feeble attempt made at setting the interior of the vehicle on fire. Arrest. 9 days later, Jenkins was taken into custody on the 30th of August 2013 on an unrelated charge of making terroristic threats. By that point, the evidence against him had already piled up. Detectives had the picture of a female accomplice purchasing the characteristic ammunition that had been used to conduct the murders from a local gun store on surveillance film. Therefore, during a meandering 8-hour questioning on September 3rd, Jenkins admitted to having committed all 4 killings. Jenkins informed the authorities that the actions were religious sacrifices to the ancient Egyptian god Apophis, After the confession, he was arrested and charged with 4 separate charges of murder. Trial. Jenkins stated in handwritten letters dated November 3, 2013, that he wished to plead guilty to all counts in the forced layings and that he would protect Apophis' kingdom with animalistic savage brutality. These letters were submitted to the Omaha World-Herald, prosecutors, and a judge. Also, Jenkins filed a federal lawsuit against the state of Nebraska on February 19, 2014, accusing the state of unlawfully releasing him from jail and asking for compensation of $24.5 million. He said that his assertions that he had heard voices from Apophis had been dismissed on many occasions. In the 6-page handwritten petition, he alleged that being held in solitary confinement exacerbated his schizophrenia. He further stated that this was done intentionally. Thus, he placed the responsibility for the 4 deaths on correctional officers. Jenkins said that he suffered from several mental illnesses, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and that these conditions were the root of his troubles. After the mental assessment that the court had ordered, a psychiatrist concluded that Jenkins was suffering from an antisocial personality disorder and was acting out his psychotic symptoms. In addition, Jenkins was found to have a score of 68 on an IQ test, which resulted in the determination that he was fit to stand trial. Therefore, the legal processes against Jenkins then got underway. Jenkins was granted the right to represent himself in court at his request, although he was given access to advising counsel throughout the proceedings. Thus, Jenkins maintained during the whole trial that he operates solely under the direction of Apophis. His behavior in the courtroom included screaming, laughing, and speaking in tongues when the prosecution recounted the circumstances of the murders of his victims. And on April 16, 2014, Judge Peter Battalion concluded that Niko Jenkins was responsible for all 4 killings. In addition, during a hearing that was convened to assess whether or not he was competent in comprehending the death sentence procedures that were being brought against him, the date was pushed out indefinitely. On July 29th, Judge Battalion issued an order directing that Jenkins be detained in the mental hospital located at the Lincoln Regional Center until the attending physicians were satisfied with his condition. Yet, medical staff at the Lincoln Jail agreed to care for Jenkins, even though officials at the regional center refused to house him due to insufficient security. Thus, in May 2017, a panel of 3 judges handed down a death sentence against Jenkins. In addition to this, he was given a 450-year sentence for the firearms counts that were linked to the killings. Did he kill 17 people by his look? Because of his menacing looks and reputation as a serial murderer, Jenkins rose to prominence on the internet and gained a significant amount of notoriety. Nevertheless, the reports that he murdered 17 individuals for no reason other than the fact that they looked at him are not true. What took place with Niko Jenkins' appearance? Niko allegedly displayed his insane inclinations by drawing a curved version of the number 666 on his face, as reported by The Sun. In addition to that, he severed his tongue in the form of a serpent and offered it up as a sacrifice to the Egyptian deity. What is he doing at this moment? It has been confirmed that Niko Jenkins is still alive and is being held in the Nebraska Correctional Facility at this time. But because of his mental illness, his attorneys have asked that the execution be postponed, and state physicians and psychologists have urged that he be drugged against his will to address his condition. As a direct consequence of this, it is now unknown when he will be put to death. However, before concluding whether or not Jenkins should be put to death, the court must first determine whether or not Jenkins is mentally well enough to comprehend the consequences of his acts and is not fabricating his sickness. As a result, he is still being held in custody until the court makes its ultimate determination. And that's it. Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below on how disturbing you find this Niko Jenkins case to be. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.